we can't help we're gone. This is our identity.
We lose ourselves in the spirit of things. We lose our sight when we put our trust in things of this material world, of things that fade away. Yet you keep coming back, 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 keep coming back. Of things we know. Spirit of things, we lose our sight when we put our trust in things of this material world, the things that fade away. Yet we keep coming back, 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 keep coming back. Of things we know.
going on, guys? Happy Monday to everybody out there. We are going to be breaking down this main MLB, what initially was a 9-game slate. Don't really know what the slate size is going to be here in a couple hours. As you can see, there are plenty of weather concerns, and we will touch base on the COVID issue going on in the MLB right now. So, buckle up, guys. We're going to break down everything that you guys need to know about this slate. Hopefully, everybody is having a great day. What's going on, guys? What's going on, Steven? What's going on, Inside Out Media? What is going on, Rusty? What is going on, Juan? Thanks for the shout-out. Also, guys, we got a lot of views on that early video. Not too much has changed as far as my stance on some of these players, but we will go ahead and talk about it all. All right? So let's go ahead and dive right into this. TJ is not present right now. He is coming home from work, so obviously not able to make the live stream right now. This is like an awkward start time. It starts at around 6:40 Eastern Standard Time. The slates usually lock around 7:08, so it's like an additional 30 minutes we have for prep time, and TJ usually gets right at home at the very start of the stream, so dedication to him. But right now he's not able to make it. What's going on, JJ? What's going on, Carlos? What's going on, mods? Thank you so much for showing up. Really appreciate that. Huge shout out to the mods for all the work that they do, and obviously volunteering to be here and kicking out the losers that appear in the chat. Decide to troll the chat, the YouTube chat. So, let's go ahead and start off by addressing the elephant in the room here. What's going on with COVID, man? We had the Phillies, Yankees, and Miami Orioles game canceled already to start the slate. Now, there were some initial reports saying that the season could be canceled, but then there were conflicting reports and more credible ones saying that the season might not be canceled. It probably actually won't be canceled, and that is good news for DFSers. That's good news, hopefully, for the safety of everybody within the MLB industry, the coaches, everybody. The 3 o'clock games, which I had already posted a Patreon post for, have started and have been playing. So that is optimistic news. I do think that they've already had the meeting. So no official word yet. But, man, what a crazy season it is. All right. What's going on? Yeah, we already have some... We already have some opinions in here about what stacks we're going to be implementing. So let's talk. Let's go away from the COVID thing. Right now, we are just waiting on whether they're going to continue the season. Probably will. Okay, and I do suspect they'll bring up the minor league guys. I do think that everything should be fine, but let's stay optimistic about it. Okay, so let's talk about these weather reports. Right now, Toronto, Washington. Green, and if you guys don't know this guy, let me just back up here. Kevin Roth, the guy from Roto Grinders, puts out some very good and easy-to-use reports on the weather around the league for MLB. He states whether a game is green, yellow, orange, or red. Green means that it will play. You should have no concern about that game. Orange, yellow, borderline, okay? If it's orange, you probably should fade the game for cash, and it's very risky in GPPs. Red, don't play at all. Okay, yellow, low risk, should play. You guys get the point, okay? The more into the red, the more you shouldn't be playing that game, okay? So right now, this report was released at, let's see if it has a timestamp on it. I don't think it does. I know it was posted earlier today, 7 hours ago. So this hasn't been updated for a while. We will check back on this, but what I will say, and according to his report, is that the Chicago-Cincy game is not that safe, okay? Right now it's orange-yellow. It sounds like from his report here that it is more towards not starting. So I don't know. We'll have to update this. Now, the good thing about these weather reports is that the yellow alone scares away a lot of ownership. So this is great for GBPs. I'm not saying play these guys yet, but we do monitor these all the way up through lock. Okay, it's nothing like any other sport where there's a rain delay. In any other sport, they either play through or they don't. With baseball, if they get postponed after lock, well, you're kind of screwed for DFS. Okay, so Milwaukee and Pittsburgh looks pretty good, yellow-green. I wouldn't worry about that whatsoever. And then the Chicago White Sox and Cleveland game is orange. So this is a high-risk game, okay? We should avoid this in cash altogether and be concerned for it in GPPs, okay? Kansas City Royals and Detroit, yellow, and the Mets and Boston, green. All right? So like I said, we'll be monitoring this throughout the entire stream. Let's go ahead and talk about what we should be doing in cash. Okay, cash is pretty darn straightforward right now in terms of ownership or in terms of pitching, because right now there are two standout pitchers that are going to carry ownership, not because they're good, but because there are not too many options on the slate. Let's go ahead and look at it real quick. Right now we have, hold on, let me catch up with the chat real quick. It's pouring in Cleveland right now, so I'm assuming that's coming from a guy that lives near there. I live in Cincinnati, definitely going to storm around 6:15. Okay, not good. Thanks for the input. What's going on, Sano? I just gave a shout out to you in the mod, so thanks for being here, man. Cubs stack, Chicago White Sox stack. Yeah, it's kind of it's not good for the White Sox stack because I really do like them. I hope that they do play because I actually like them as a GPP stack. All right. Catching up with everything as much as I can. And my dogs are going nuts downstairs. Hopefully you guys can't hear that. All right, so let's talk about the pitching. The pitching, Josh James and Glasnow are pretty much your only options right now. Okay? Carrying the highest ownership on the slate, 48 and 73%. If we compare them on Fantasy Cruncher, 69.3 and 52%. Okay. All right. Well, hold on, guys. Let's address the shirt real quick. So this shirt, my girlfriend graduated from her master's program from Arizona State. I have nothing to do with this. Okay. So other than my girlfriend going there. Okay. So yeah, I'm not a James Harden fan either. Okay. So, but she got her master's from there. That's the only reason I'm wearing this shirt. All right. So Josh James, Glasnow, lock them in. Okay. I will just say that for cash. They're by far the highest owned, not because they're good pitchers and not because they're in good matchups, because Atlanta is a very scary team. As a matter of fact, they could blow away Glasnow. I'm kind of scared for it. Josh James, horrible team he's going against. He's not that great of a pitcher, but he's not that bad. 8,600, 8,900 allow you to get to a lot of bats. I do like them here. Anybody that's more expensive than them will be GPP. Anybody less expensive than them will be GPP, okay? It's just straightforward. 69.3%, 52% ownership as of right now in GPPs, and cash they should be even higher, okay? Very straightforward. All right, let's go ahead and talk about what we should be doing in cash as far as bets, because it's kind of all over the place. Okay, and I do expect there will definitely be some bad chalk on the slate. I will say that. But for chalk, you have to play the high-owned guys regardless, right? I'll say this again. I started out my early MLB video this morning by saying so many people are playing cash, GPPs, small GPPs, big GPPs incorrectly in this industry, and they continuously never find success for that reason. Never. They will look at these odds right now and say that Houston's in a great spot and they'll play them in GPPs. Big, small, large, and they're one lineup. You already screwed yourself right there because Houston is going to be pretty high owned. Okay? They will be high owned. Guys, let's talk about strategy real quick. If a high owned stack that you are all over is in a very good spot, doesn't mean you play them across the board. It means you play them in small GPPs where you can maximize return. Let's say four people. Let's say you're going against four other people. That's considered a GPP. You're going to have 4 times your return. If you enter that same exact stack in a huge multi-million GPP, okay? Not multi-million. Multi-thousand person GPP. And it does hit. Let's say it's the optimal stack. You will probably only 2 times your money depending on how high on those guys are, okay? Guys, don't be dumb. Okay, play those stacks. Yes, you can play the chalk, but make sure you play them in GPPs that make sense. I get so many questions on my videos. Why wouldn't you play this? Why wouldn't you play that? Why are you not all aboard the cash stacks if they're in great spots? Guys, the ownership is the most important thing in all of DFS, and I can't stress enough, especially in MLB. There's so many people that go under the radar. I mean, I can't tell you how many stacks. Orioles 2 nights ago, very low owned, and they did really well. I mean, you can look at any one of these teams. The Rays won't be high owned. The Braves definitely won't be high owned because of cash pitchers going against them today. White Sox, we already talked about them being low owned. They have been surprising us this season. Okay, so make sure you guys get your strategy right before implementing all of your lineups tonight. Especially look at the weather. Okay. Anyway, bad chalk. Let's talk about it. So we know that the Royals right now. It's funny I started out with them. The Royals have a decent over-under right now. They are projected 4.64 runs, which is good for the Royals. However, it's not good comparing them to the rest of the teams on the slate. The one thing that's separating the Royals from the rest of the pack is that, guess what? All their salaries are very easy to get to, which means that the chalk donkeys will fall for it, okay? I'm going to fall for it. Everybody's going to fall for it because if it does hit, well, then guess what? I'm going to be screwed. So we are going to play these guys in cash. Merrifield, $4,000, very cheap. Soler, $3,800. Mondesi, $3,500. All these guys are so low owned or so mispriced. Just in general, they should be higher priced than this, which is why they are so easy to get to, which is why they're so high owned. Okay, Perez is going to be the chalkiest catcher on the slate. All right, don't get it twisted. Don't try to get crazy. These guys are going to be your cash plays on this slate. Kansas City Royals. I didn't state that in my video. I suspected that Houston would be a higher owned stack than Kansas City, but the line has been moving in Kansas City's favor. I do like Houston. Houston at 5.56 is definitely cash viable as well and is better chalk in my opinion. And Milwaukee is also at 5.41. So these are better chalk options. All right. So let's talk about chalk, right? You got your two chalk pitchers, and yes, I got an itch in my nose. I promise I'm not picking it. We got two cash pitchers. We got the Royals, we got Milwaukee, and we got Houston. That's it. No questions asked. Everybody else is going to be low owned. Even Boston. Boston's going to be lower owned because let's go ahead and take a look at their price tags, with the exception of a couple players here. Okay. Actually, let me go back to Fantasy Cruncher. So if we go to Boston. Yeah, so there's a couple players. So there's like JD Martinez and Benintendi. Those guys are very high owned compared to the Houston guys and the Kansas City Royal guys we just talked about. You can even make an exception for maybe Bogarts. But like outside of those two guys, these guys really aren't that high owned, and they're in a high over under. Okay, and I can kind of get it now because Boston has let us down 2 of the 3 nights that we played them so far. All right. Boston makes for a decent one-off in smaller GPPs. I am not as high on them as I was the previous nights in cash. Okay, so you can keep them in there. JD Martinez, Benintendi might make it into my cash lineup. They actually probably will. Okay. And I mean, you can even take a look at these guys. The Mets are higher over under, and they're probably cheaper. So it just goes to show you how much bad chalk is on the slate. Okay. So looking down the line here, nobody else really makes sense. Let's go ahead and talk about some matchups. You guys want to talk some matchups? Who's your favorite pitcher for tonight? My favorite pitchers for cash are going to be Fulte. Sorry, not Fulte. I just lied. Josh James and Glasnow. Those are going to be the chalk options. Those are going to be the highest percent owned. And as far as GBP plays, I won't talk too much about my favorite GBP plays because I save that for Patreon. I will say there's a lot of sneaky options. It's kind of it's a toss-up tonight for pitchers. There's no standout options. There's high upside. I talked about Miley. Could definitely get it done if that game plays. He's projected owned at 1% right now. I'm assuming that's because of weather. Definitely going to be a great GPP option if that's the case. I saw a Brault question. I'm not high on Brault. I'm not going to lie. I think Brault at 1% is the only reason I'd play him in GPPs, but not that high of upside at all. I mean, you're talking about a Milwaukee Brewers lineup, and my dogs are going nuts now, so perfect timing. What about Atlanta and GPPs? Yes, Atlanta's a very good team to target in GPPs. If you look across the line, any one of these guys you can make a case for. It really comes down to actual ownership at that point. Atlanta does make a great amount of sense because they are so low here on the projected over-under, which I really don't get. If I was a betting man outside of DFS, I would probably hit that over on that Atlanta game. I do think Glasnow's great and all, but I do think Atlanta's a better hitting team than Glasnow is a pitcher. So, all right. What about Hauser for big GPPs? I can get on that 100%. All right, so let's talk about play IQ. Let's go through these lineups. Let's go through these matchups because that's what a lot of people like to look at. Let's assume every game's playing right now, okay? Let's talk about this. Miley, all right, is a very good pitcher, a very streaky pitcher, but he struggles more so against righties. So if we look at the lineup here, Chris Bryant is in a good spot. I like him for GPP. I like Baez for GPP. I like Contreras for GPP. All very good spots. It's a 1-3-5, a nice mix and match here. Those are going to be my favorite options from Chicago. If you guys look here, a lot of green. We talk about this all the time. Stats don't lie. They are in the best spot and the percentage chance to get on base and hit a home run, in my opinion. All right, Cincinnati hitters. Let's talk about this. John Lester struggles against righties a lot. Irvin is actually pretty chalky. He's the one chalky guy from Cincinnati if they play. He's in a prime position hitting in leadoff. Suarez, not a bad spot whatsoever. Actually, a very decent spot here. I mean, you can make a case for a lot of these guys here, okay? I like the matchup here. I think this is sneaky. If this is a GPP, or if this game does play, this game could definitely be a GPP matchup for sure. If we go to the Atlanta Tampa Bay Rays, like I said, you guys are very interested in these Atlanta hitters. Let's go ahead and look at it. So you see a lot of green, but Glasnow, a lot of green right back at you, right? So a very good matchup. Acuna in a good spot. Glasnow is righty, so we're targeting lefties here. Albez, not bad. Freeman, like I said, is a sneaky GPP option. Freeman's always a good option. What's going on, Trent? Yeah, Royals, Perez, and Soler are definitely not that bad of options here. Any interest in Moncada? Like I said, that game plays. We'll talk about it in just a second. I have a lot of interest in the White Sox in general. Like I said, they've been off to a great start this season as far as their bats have been going. Pitching, not so much. All right. Going over to the Rays, not too much interest there. I'm just going to say it. As far as matchups, right? Not too many people pop. We go to Milwaukee and Pittsburgh. I mean, if you look up and down this board here, Hauser, very, very good against righties, very bad against lefties. Frazier is not that good of a hitter, so that's good. We have Bell, the only really scary guy here. Moran, also not that good of a hitter. I mean, it looks like a prime matchup for Hauser. I'm not really high in Pittsburgh. He just happened to get lucky with his left versus right batters here. First time in MLB might be a rough time. Needs some advice. Yeah, I mean, if you missed the first part of our live stream, I went over my favorite chalk plays. Again, MLB is just so all over the place. It's the most volatile sport by far, even more volatile than League of Legends. If you guys need any help, again, our Patreon is $20 a month. $20 freaking dollars, guys. You won't find the value better in the entire industry. We have a Discord. We have our leverage sheets, which show you our favorite GPP plays, ownership projections, actual projections. We have everything you guys need to know about DFS all included in there if you guys want to sign up today. Again, the links are in the description, and the link is above, I do believe, in this video. Oakland leverage, you recommend, is off to a great start. Yeah, so I was curious because I actually didn't play that slate. So now, what was the Oakland ownership coming in at? Because I was actually surprised that Oakland wasn't as high owned as they were. Because Oakland was the highest projected team. I think they were just so expensive. I don't know what the deal was there. It was definitely confusing. All right, let's move on. Let's move along here. Milwaukee versus Brault. We have Brault struggling very much against righties. We have Kane. Braun. Braun's very good here. 287 ISO and a 388 steroids. Very good hitter. Obviously a lot of power and is set up for a very good spot against Brault. I like that a lot. Yelich, a lefty. He does well against lefties, but you can never fade Yelich if you're going to stack one team, and it's Milwaukee, right? Yeah, so under 25% still pretty low for that. Being the highest implied over-under on the slate, which is kind of weird. If we talk about the Royals, like I said, this is why I don't get the Royals chalk as much. I get that it is Fulmer. But, man, I mean, look at this. It's not that great of a matchup. Solar here is like, I get Solar. I get that chalk. But everybody else, Perez doesn't have any plate appearances, so we don't have any data. But everybody else stinks. Like, who's going to get it going? You're going to expect Solar hits a home run, and that's it, call it a day, and Perez? No, it's probably not going to happen that way. You want to relay when you're talking about these cash stacks, right? But all these guys are red. Red outside of Solar and maybe Perez, but we don't have any data on him for last season. Kana hit an 8% home run. Look at that. How is Brantley 3.3? Yes. 3.3 Brantley is going to be very chalky today. I do think he actually has a high amount of ownership. All right, let's talk about the flip side here. We have Detroit. Detroit's in a very, very good spot. Sano, I know you heard that, right? Sano. Detroit looks great. I mean, if you look at their implied over-under, I believe it's at 5. Could end up for a very sneaky stack. I do think they carry a decent amount of ownership. I'll have to look at that here. I'm going to update my page, actually. All right. Let's go ahead and look at the price tags on these guys. Detroit. All right. So the good news about Detroit is that it did have weather concerns initially. However, it seems to be pushing out. I don't know if that is true. I don't know if anybody in Detroit can confirm that. But right now, I don't think there's too much concern for these guys. You should load them up. All these guys are very cheap. Cron, Scope, Goodrum, Cabrera. Look at these guys. They're all under 20% ownership. Their over was actually at a 5.16. Now it's at a 5.36. So it looks like it's pushing in the right direction. And I do see why. I mean, if you look at the matchups here on Plate IQ, it looks like a very good spot. I mean, you look at the 1 all the way through the 6. All these guys are set up for success. Montgomery, look at these stats. 91 plate appearances and 311 versus rights. I mean, these stats are miserable. Montgomery is trash. He's bad. He's not very good. Okay. So I do like Detroit. I like Detroit. They're in a very good spot. Let's talk about Seattle and Houston. So Houston. Come on. I mean, I don't really need to say anything. Just look at the page. Right? What's going on, Adam? Detroit skies are clear. Thanks for the insight, man. Yeah, so Houston, I mean they should score. They should score a lot, right? It makes a lot of sense here. The ISO, the weighted on-base average for Springer, Altuve, none of these guys should have a bad night. I mean, going all the way through, Reddick is the only exception. I'll give him a free pass. Tucker, I mean, look at these guys. It's bad. It's scary. It is scary. And not to mention that a couple of these guys might get hit today, right? There's some free bases. Seattle, flip side, no, right? It doesn't look very good. Lewis looks good, though. 55 plate appearances, a small sample size. I don't really like that. The only thing I do like, though, is the fact that James is going to be so inflated in ownership that people are going to be scared off the Seattle stack. Let's say they put up more than 3 runs, 4 runs, 5 runs. That right there is enough leverage to push you into GPPs, assuming the other stacks don't do as well. All right, so Seattle is definitely a sneaky stack. It's not my favorite stack, but it will carry very, very low ownership, probably bottom of the barrel ownership. If we look back here at the ownership, and by no means am I saying they're my favorite stack. Yeah, I mean, look at this. Not a single percent over 1. It makes sense, right? Big GPPs. Load them up. You never know. Seattle's one of those teams, hit or miss, especially last season. And then this game is very, very scary. We don't know if it's going to play or not. There's some bright spots here. Chicago White Sox, like I said, this is the reason why I like them. 1 through 5, just in prime spots. The rest of the lineup stinks. This guy's pretty good against righties. Very bad against lefty, or not so good against lefties. Gives up a lot of power, which is scary for Moncada. I think I saw a Moncada comment here earlier. Does anyone know if his Patreon will make me win? That's a very good question. If you listen. So here's the thing with Patreon. Here's the thing with my recommendations. It only works if you use the Patreon like it's supposed to be used. If you sign up for Patreon and then you don't read what is on the Patreon, it's not going to work. A lot of people buy it, and then I find out later that they don't even read my cheat sheets, which is kind of frustrating, but, it is what it is. But yeah, if you want to sign up for Patreon just to chat, man, there's so many people now in our Patreon chat. We have almost 300 members, and we have some coaches that are there that actually know the sports, and it's a blast. It's a blast to chat it up with you guys. Very interesting. That's a new comment I've never gotten. All right, Cleveland hitters. Let's talk about this. Cleveland prime spot. If this does play through, I like Cleveland just because of their upside. Not even looking at ownership. If you look at this 1 through 6, 8. All these guys are in great spots. No spamming symbols. All right. I think we have one more team or one more matchup to cover here. So, bad matchup here for Boston. Obviously, like I said, these guys are more on the expensive side, except for Benintendi and Martinez. And it's funny because they're actually not in the best matchups, which is kind of interesting. I like Boston as a one-off. I really do. I don't like them for their ownership in cash. I think a lot of them are tapering off into the 10 or 5 to 10% range. You look at the Mets. I like the Mets a lot. The Mets are going to be sneaky tonight. If you look at the bulk of their lineup, Alonso McNeil, J.D. Davis, Conforto, all these guys are in great spots. All right, so I think I just went through all these matchups. I talked about some of my favorite matchups here. I pretty much covered the entire slate. Let's go ahead and answer some questions. We have pitchers of my favorite value pitcher. Let's go ahead and talk about it. Value. Let's go ahead and go from the bottom up. Miley. Miley is a hit or miss. We know he's a hit or miss player. I like him for upside. Fulmer's not bad. I actually like Fulmer a lot because of his percentage ownership for GPPs. Fulmer, like I said, Kansas City is going to be very, very high owned, and that right there could get it done in GPPs just by simply starting him and fading the Casey Chalk. If Casey Chalk hits today, I'll be very mad. I will say that. Hauser, not bad if you want to consider that value. I won't really touch anybody else that cheap. Yeah, Fred, I totally get that. Yeah, thanks for the insight, man. Yeah, so DJ, I believe you get yelled at by the bot because you put too much caps and symbols. I don't think it likes it. I need to get rid of the bot. All right, I don't need to get rid of it, but I need to really look at his settings because he does not like caps. I don't really care about that. But yeah, some of these pitchers, like I said, it's a lot of hit or miss. I feel like one of these pitchers down low is going to put up a gem game. It's going to extend the game more than he should. I think it's Miley. In my opinion, Fulmer could definitely do it. Montgomery, I'm not a fan of. I think his ownership makes sense at 4.8%. I really don't like Montgomery today. Obviously, if you look at the stats, not too much sense. Alonso, expensive, but I like him tonight. I do like the Mets. I like the Mets as being a sneaky question. Random question. All right, I like random questions. So, team you're looking forward to in NBA. I'm looking forward to my Spurs, right? I will say this about the Spurs. They've been working their butts off, man. I've been watching some of their inside practices, and man, they are working their butts off. It looks like a lot of these guys in the bubble are really chilling out and hanging out and having a good time. Spurs are putting in work. I'm just telling you. I don't think they'll make a playoff run, but you know what? It's optimistic for us. I can tell you what. I'm looking forward the most in NBA. Looking forward most to the Bucks. I want to see the Bucks make a run. I'm not a Bucks fan. I'm not a bandwagon fan. I am a firm believer in hard work pays off. And that man, Giannis Antetokounmpo, has been a workhorse. He's been a stud. I love him. I love him because he puts in the work. He's been working out. And when he entered the NBA, he was great. He was set up for greatness, but he got a shot. He got some muscle. He put on a lot of weight. I think it's like 30 pounds in muscle, which is, guys, that is hard to do. And this guy's ready to make a run, man. If it's not this season, I really hope Milwaukee wins a championship. There is some great competition in the West. I want to see the Bucks and the Lakers or the Clippers square off in the finals, and I want to see that man step it up and take it to the next level. I think he could. He has the potential, and no one can argue with this, of being one of the greatest basketball players in NBA history, and I think his reign starts now, once LeBron is on his way out. I really do. Anyway. That's my NBA. This is an MLB show. I'm liking Miley Cyrus. I like Miley Cyrus today too. Thoughts on Bol Bol? I think it's a little overreacting right now. I think Bol Bol obviously he's like Giannis in the sense that he has size and everything, but he's very lengthy. Obviously I'm hyped to see somebody that tall do well, but we'll see. Cubs playing today or not? Let's go ahead and check the weather one more time here. Let's go ahead and check the weather one more time. So no more updates. I will say this. Let's go ahead and I will summarize the slate real quick, and then I'll move on to some final questions. Let's go ahead and recap. So for the chalk, there's 3 teams that stand out to me in terms of ownership. It's the Royals because they're so easy to get to and allows you to pay up for the Josh James and Glasnow. Okay, the builds are going to be Josh James and Glasnow, period, for pitchers. Royals, Houston, highest implied over-under, and those 2 guys from Boston, and then Milwaukee. Milwaukee is also relatively cheap. You can get some guys in there. Those are the chalkiest guys. As of right now, things can change. Okay? So I do think that the Royals are bad chalk, but you need some bad chalk, right? You need to differentiate yourself in GPPs. Play the chalk in small GPPs. And if it does hit, awesome. If it doesn't, you move on to your big GPPs, and that's where you make your money, okay? Play the low-owned teams. I post my favorite leverage spots again to my Patreon if you guys are interested in signing up for that. But look at the weather before you play any one of these guys, okay? The two, and I actually got done texting TJ. This makes it very easy. The games with the weather concerns are from the C's. Chicago, Cincy, makes it easy, and the White Sox and Cleveland. All right, it's all the C's, literally. Those are the games that you have to pay attention to. Right now, it doesn't look like we're getting anything. Oh, actually, this does look like an update. Oh boy, I could honestly see this going either way. There's a little clearing here where we could squeeze in some baseball, especially if we are willing to play through light rain. But I can see a scenario where a couple heavier batches go over the ballpark, and it just isn't dry enough for long enough to play. I guess they play this game, but I think hitters carry some risk, and starting pitchers even more so. All right, so that's not optimistic for this White Sox game. Fade these guys in cash, which we plan on doing, but for GPPs, it's a little risky. I'd say only big GPPs, okay? Don't throw a lot of money on these guys. Let's go ahead and look at the Chicago Cincy yellow-orange with some emphasis on yellow. That's good. I think this game looks like a late start and play. It's one main band and decent but not perfect weather upstream of that. Maybe more pop-ups behind this line and completely wrecks us, but I think the most likely outcome is that the game plays after a late start. All right, so here's my thoughts. Kevin usually knows what he's talking about, not the Kevin in the UFC videos, the Kevin Roth of Roto Grinders. I'd say this. I'd say keep this. I'm pretty confident, it sounds like Kevin Roth is too, that this game plays, and I would only play these guys in big GPPs. I'd fade these guys in cash and small GPPs, and I'd play everybody else. That's my breakdown. I like Chicago and Cincinnati. I feel like Chicago the entire season is going to be one of those teams that are going to make or break a slate. All right? They just are. I mean, Chicago has a ton of power, but man, they are streaky. They're pitching, they're hitting. It's very streaky. Same thing with Cincinnati. This is a great game. This is going to have GPP written all over it, and I think that this matchup it's going to be make or break the slate. I think Chicago is just one of those teams that's going to be like that all season. I'm in Cleveland, and it's going to clear up most likely. So yeah, I don't think there's anything else. No other weather concerns. White Sox, Cleveland. I hope that it does play. I really do, because I like the White Sox. I like Cleveland too, but I like the White Sox more. Which one is cash? The Royals, Milwaukee, and some of Boston. Who am I missing? There's one more team. Oh, Houston. Did I say Houston? I don't think I said Houston. Yeah, Houston. All right. Not much has changed from the video earlier this morning. My stances still stand. Yeah, Houston looks amazing. Yes. If you had to pick 3 batters for a lineup, who would you take? Let's talk about cash. I would take JD Martinez. I would take Benintendi because they look really good, and I would take my man, who's leading off? Springer. Sorry, Springer. It looks like he's going to be in a prime spot. I get that he's expensive, but I'm just talking about straight up, like who I think is going to score the most on the slate. Springer, JD Martinez, and I won't say Benintendi. I'll give you one more. Oh, and Soler. Those are my guys. Those are my favorite guys. Like if I had to talk about like the mixture of ownership and who's going to be good chalk, bad chalk, Soler, JD Martinez, and Springer. Those are my favorite. I play Yahoo, need 2 pitchers. Yep, those 2 pitchers are easily going to be James and Glasnow. Those are your cash players. How do you know the difference between GPP players and cash players? Let's talk about it. Cash players are usually high owned. They are very straightforward, very popular plays. GPP players are very low and fly under the radar, but still have plenty of upside. All right. Sometimes they fly so under the radar, it doesn't make sense. You need to play them in GPPs because if those players do well, they push you to the front of GPPs. If the chalk flops, which it does, and MLB more often than not, you're in for a very good night and a very good profitable night. All right. Any more questions? ATL, Boston, Houston stack? Yes. Absolutely for cash. I would avoid that. Oh, ATL. No, ATL is definitely GPP. Sorry. Cubs playing today or not? I think the Cubs are going to play. And no more questions. Go over Blue Jays versus Nationals. They are not on the slate. Right? They are not on the slate unless they're playing later. I think, right? I don't think they're on the slate. No. Unless I'm missing something. All right, so any more questions, guys? I'm going to go ahead and sign off here in a couple minutes. I'm going to make my lineups, and I have to update my Patreon with my favorite plays given the new weather reports. Best catcher, Perez. Perez from the Royals. Going to be by far the best pitcher or best catcher. High owned, good spot, and just the ownership makes sense. What do you think about Dylan Cease? GPP. I don't hate him. He's not in a good matchup, but he's a great player. It's like one of those things that's going to be make or break. That's why he screams GPP. Ramos, not bad. All right. I'm going to go ahead and sign off, guys. Thank you so much for tuning into the live stream. Me and TJ did not have a full conversation, so usually we go a little bit longer than this. But like I said, smaller slate now with the COVID thing coming in and canceling some of these games. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the live stream. Thank you so much for all your support. Hopefully you guys do cash and let me know your success. And with all that being said, have a great rest of your night, guys, and let's cash.
And I've been counting days to get away, to see you again, been finding ways to get away, to see you again. See you again. got millions of reasons to let it all go. Hope we're not too broken. I know I'm not always strong, and I've been counting days to get away, to see you again, see you again. Been fighting ways to get away, to see you again, see you again.
We are dreaming in the dark. We are nothing more than dust.